Menopause, Menopause, and we are episode 8.
I have to do it. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, every week, without fail. Da, da, da. Jill, how's your menopause been this week? Oh, bless. I know what's gone on, but go on.
God, I feel like I'm only ever moaning on this thing. I am my menopause. I don't know if it's my menopause, but I'm getting better. Monday night, I came down with either gastro or food poisoning or God knows what. I honestly felt like I was dying.
Oh,
dying.
horrid.
Dying.
Horrid.
I feel like all I ever do is speak about my tummy and my gas and my.
And I said the first thing I said was, "Well, at least you're not bloated anymore."
Not necessarily to be recommended, or I'm not promoting gastro in any way, shape, or form. But blimey, yes, it's got rid of the menopause bloated belly.
Yes.
But subsequently, I've woken up today. I've had a good night's sleep, and I feel like a different. Still a wee bit fragile, but
a wee bit fragile.
A wee bit fragile.
She's Scottish, if you haven't guessed. A wee bit. Love it.
Love it. Feeling very appreciative. When you wake up and you start to feel better after having felt some crap. So I'm like, oh, life is good again. Yes. Yeah. What about you? How's yours?
I've had a really good week. I've had a big week, actually. End of last week, my eldest daughter turned 21, which is always a bit of a landmark because, the fact that, she's definitely an adult now.
She's a lady. Yes.
She's a lady. So that was a big thing. And I made a very radical decision. We talked about numbers a while ago, and I suddenly realized I made this decision on an 8 day, so the 8th of September. Do you remember we talked about 888 and the Lion's Gate?
Oh, did you make it on the 8th?
I did make it on the 8th, but I didn't actually realize it until the day after. And the 8, I've had this whole thing with this numerologist recently, and she said 8 is a really important number for you. So if there's any big decisions that you need to make them on the 8th. I didn't realize, but I made a big decision.
So you didn't do it deliberately? You didn't say, "Oh, I'll wait till
No. It just felt right. Everything aligned itself. I bought a horse. This is what I've done. So it's a big thing, and I've been wanting to do it for years. And it's a photo of a friend of mine, because she sent this thing over to me, and it's been bubbling for ages. And it was the sale of a horse up in the north. I was like, ooh, and it sparked off the whole thing. And I've been really at a loss this summer without being able to go. And also, the last time I went riding, I actually got thrown off the horse.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's not my horse. And I've been riding 4 different horses for months. And I'm not enjoying that, because it's very difficult to bond with a horse. And it's very difficult to create that relationship. And then you don't know what the horse is going to react like. So you're changing all the time. So you're having to adapt, and you don't know. And it sort of started to trouble me. And this is back to school time. And we were, back to school at the riding stables as well. I thought, I don't want to just be riding other people's horses, I want to be riding my own. I want to work with my own. Anyway, everything kind of aligned. I did try one on a Saturday, which was useless for me, really not good. And I think had some serious issues, but bless her. She needs to just be in a field and have foals. But anyway, everything else aligned for this horse, who's called Prince Rico. Mother is called Princess Fiona.
We like Princess Fiona.
Fiona. So that's really cool. And it all kind of worked out. And it was all on the 8th of September, which I suddenly realized on Monday. I was like, that's amazing. That's really cool. But when things just align. So already I've been discussing about this horse for a while with this woman. Who retrains old race horses to be normal horses, like rideable horses, so they don't just race, basically. So I've been going through things with her, because I have a project to do ecotherapy, which is therapy with horses. So
that would be beautiful.
Treat people's anxiety through contact with the horse. So it's not necessarily riding the horses, it's just being with the horses, because
they're such calming animals.
They've got a
real, you can feel their soul, or there's a real wisdom to them, isn't there?
They say that they can see into your soul, and they will give you what you need to work on.
I feel like that with my dog.
And the horse will, if it doesn't have anything to give you, it will either try and push you away, or maybe that is the thing that it's trying to give you. It's need to work on things, but there won't be any contact. If they haven't got anything to give you, they'll just sort of walk away, and they'll just go in a different direction.
Oh, That's interesting that you
So,
say
yeah.
that, because I love horses. I've always loved horses. But if you ask me, I wouldn't consider myself a horsey person, because anytime, maybe they sense a fear in me, because anytime I've gone to the stables or gone for a lesson or anything like that, I've not had the best experience on them. I think they must sense that I'm quite nervous, and so they push me away. It's interesting, but anyway, we're not about.
No, it's interesting, and it's actually Sharon Blackie, who I've mentioned before in the past. Sharon Blackie says that in one of her books, because she talks about a lot of Celtic myths and things, and she talks about the fact that horses look into your soul. And there's a woman in the UK who works on that level with horses and with people, and she does workshops and sessions where she tries to work out what needs to be worked on through the horse and through what the horse is providing. And so she's got various horses, and she will just tell you to go and be in the field and see which horse comes to you.
Oh, really?
So it's really interesting. So everything's sort of aligned. The person who had got this horse for sale had said to me, from what you're saying, I know exactly the horse, but I'm going to give you 3 to choose from, and you can make the decision. But she said, for me, this is the one for you to go for, and this is the one that I bought. And then things just aligned. And so she said, I said, right, okay, I'm going for it. The transport company, she said, I found you a transport for Tuesday. And I was like, what?
It all happened
2 days
quickly,
time.
didn't it?
And she said, these aren't easy to get, the transport, because it's specialized transport, right? And it was coming from a long way away. And I found out yesterday the transport company was doing a huge other trip, and it just aligned, because he had to go to Annecy afterwards. Then he had to go to Fréjuston or Saint-Raphaël down south. Then he had to go back up, and it just all aligned so that everything worked out. And I was just like, this is meant to be. And then Monday I was like, oh, and I did it on the 8th. I did it on the 8th.
Wow.
So wow. So that's the big thing.
So she bought a horse.
It's not every day you do that, right?
But I mean, why we decided to speak about this today, bringing it back to not just menopause, but I guess why we're doing this podcast, our take on the menopause, not just seeing it as a tough time physically and mentally for us females, but also seeing it as a time of transformation, when we listen to the signs, listening to our needs, and bringing the horse thing into this. Why we've decided to speak about it, because it's an example of exactly that, isn't it? I mean, it's a beautiful example of you finding. I mean, buying a horse is a pretty big deal. So doing something very risky,
and he's a 4-year-old, so he's young, and he's in conversion as well. So he's in a transformation.
So the 2 of you,
yeah.
But I mean, that's quite something to do that. But yeah, what we're wanting to speak about today is listening to our needs and actually finding the courage to do these things that speak to our soul. You've done it. You used to write when you were younger.
I did.
So it's probably all.
Jill turned up today with a book called The Second Spring. Actually, I think they refer to in various cultures the menopause as the second spring.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
A lot of our cultures don't look at it like that, do they? They look at it as a kind of, this is the beginning of the end kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. And the second spring, and so we chatted about this beforehand, because I showed Jill a picture of my horse when I was 13, and the horse looks very similar. It's the same race actually as the one that I've just bought. And honestly, last night when I was in the stables and he arrived last night, which was a thrill beyond words.
Oh.
And there's lots of little kids there, because it's a riding stables, right? So there's lots of little kids, and the group that was at the end of the evening was beginner group. So some of them had never ridden really before, or just like sat on a horse but never really done anything with the horses, right? And the excitement in these little girls, right? And I was them last night in my 53-year-old body.
Oh, good.
And one of the mothers went, well done, it's going, I wish you so well on this journey, blah, 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 and everything. And Marie, my teacher, was like, I think Charlotte's kind of, a little bit excited at the moment. I said, honestly, this, which is a little kind of 6-year-old girl in front of me. I'm that at the moment. I'm literally 6.
But I think all the time, or these last few years, I have been remembering all the stuff that I used to love to do.
Yeah.
I've been really connecting with myself as a teenager and even as a younger child, things that over the years you've kind of forgotten about because life gets in the way, because for us, you know, the years when you're, I mean, my son's only 13, but when when all your focus is on the kids or on work or on other things, your own needs and priorities and interests kind of put them on the back burner.
Well, I've spent the last few years, and I said this just before we started filming, and I spent the last few years, all of my money, and I work really hard, and I'm even taking on another job this winter. All of my money has gone on to my children, their education, the house, and the bills, and I barely see anything for myself. So, you know, I go riding. I started riding again 2.5 years ago, whilst I was in the heart of the menopause. And that in itself, I even wrote an article for a French magazine on the comparison of horse riding and menopause.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. And it was about facing your fears.
Yeah.
It was about learning to let go, you know, of your anxiety, and also the need to control, because sometimes
I guess probably learning to listen as well, and to
And one of the things that my riding instructor used to say as we were approaching, particularly like a jump or something. I'm not a massive jumper. I don't like, you know, really high jumps and stuff like that, but it's quite fun to do a little bit of it, right? But I was petrified at the beginning, because it was always a bit of a, even when I was younger. And she said, okay, so we take a deep inhale and then we blow out the candle. And I just love that idea, going, as you go. And it sort of was a great parallel for the menopause as well. So I started riding again, and that was my treat of the week. But it was once a week for an hour or so.
Yeah.
And I thought, this isn't enough.
No.
This is my passion from when I was a child. I don't know how long I'm here for. I have no idea. Is it financially the right time to do this? Probably not. But then sod it, because
you blew out the candle.
I blew out the candle and I just went for it because I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I sat for an hour and a half. So my riding instructor's given me various kit, so because we didn't know what his sizes were or anything, bit by bit, progressively, I'll buy my gear, but it's not cheap, everything. So I'll do it progressively. So she gave me some old stuff, which we've got to see if it fits today. But I had to put loads of oil into it, saddle, you know, wax and oil into it, because it hadn't been used for ages. But I spent the happiest hour, literally sitting on the floor in the stables.
But doesn't that
the
just
oil.
say it all?
Yes.
You spent the happiest hour just doing that. And why? And why not?
And exactly. I'm beaming, you know, I'm so excited and so happy about the whole thing. A little nervous, I have to say, but isn't that nice to feel that in your 50s?
Yeah.
To feel excited, nervous, and you're looking forward to something.
Yeah.
It's just it's a beautiful thing, I think.
Oh, for sure. You know? For sure.
What did you Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. What would be the thing that you would like, that you're not doing maybe now, that you did in your childhood, that you would like to start doing again? But consciously and being aware of it.
There's two that come to mind. There's three, but one I am very one is the first one. The most important for me is probably around being outside and moving in nature and everything.
You do that.
I was always a runner.
You do that.
I do that, and that's the one that I'm glad I've held on to that the whole way through, because I think that has kept me sane through menopause and is still doing so. So that's my go-to. The two that keep coming up at the moment are around art and writing. So I guess creative stuff.
Oh, I can see a oracle card book thing coming on.
Yeah. I used to think about it. Again, it's one of those things, especially the writing thing. If I think back to it, when I was in primary school, I don't know if you remember, what were they called? The Garden Gang or something. There was a series of little books that I used to read.
Yes, the Garden Gang. Yes.
And they were written by a girl.
Yes.
And at the time, I thought I had a plan to do something, my own version, and to be an author.
She was a schoolgirl.
Yeah, she was, and I was a schoolgirl. And I was going to, and I wrote stories, and I was going to do that.
Yes,
And then over time, the whole not good enough thing started to get in the way, and life got in the way. And then it was kind of, who the hell do you think you are to be an author? And it's only latterly, because like you, I do a lot of writing for social media, for courses that I run, for things like that. So that enabled me to get a taste of writing again. But now I think, no, I actually need to create the time, make the time, the space to write or to paint, or a combination of the two, as you say in the book.
That could be the combination.
Because I always loved that. When I was little, my thing was just sitting in my bedroom and writing and painting and drawing, and I love that. And I don't make enough time.
I would say writing's a really important thing to do during the menopause. Just bring it back to the menopause for a second. I actually wrote a book during the heart of the menopause. My dog's about to come. No, you need to go over there. He's feeling left out. If you feel any, come over here.
Come over here, but don't knock everything.
You might hear some puffy puffing. There we go. Puffy puffing. Again, you'll have to go on the.
Come a bit further. Come a bit further.
You'll have to go on the YouTube to see the size of my dog. He's not a small baby, but he's an old baby. So just sit down with us. There we go. I actually wrote a book during menopause called Resilience, and it was inspired by various things.
Lovely book.
Thank you. It's a poetry book, and it hasn't sold very much in the UK. I wrote it in English deliberately. I'd love for it to sell more.
You don't promote it very much.
Well, I do things on my Instagram and stuff like that. Anyway, buy my book. It's really good. It's really cheap, and it's amazing. It's a poetry book called Resilience, and I wrote it for a variety of reasons. This week, when we're recording this, is actually, in fact, it was yesterday, is World Suicide Awareness Day.
Is it?
And I've said it before, but if you've not listened, my ex-partner killed himself. And it's a whole trauma that I wish on nobody, because it's a death like nothing else, really. And from that experience, from various others, I had a near-death experience in a ski accident then. I had skin cancer as the last thing, which was another. I've got a checkup in 2 weeks, fingers crossed. And then the menopause was like the next thing. I wanted to put it all down on paper, this idea of resilience, and I talked about kinzuki bowls in the book, which is a Japanese bowl that when you break it on the floor, or when it gets broken, it gets stuck together again. But with like glue that you can see on the outside, and they become works of art. They become stronger because of their cracks.
Yeah.
And they become a beautiful work of art, and they're very expensive. They're worth a lot more. And my comparison was you get to the menopause, it's like you're not, chucked out like broken pieces. You are a beautiful work of art, worth a lot more.
Your pieces, cracks, and all.
Exactly, and resilience was sort of, it was kind of therapy for myself, and I kind of worked through the 5 pillars of resilience and the 5 stages, really, I suppose, of grief, and then rising up into.
Yeah, you can feel that in the writing.
Yeah. And I'm actually just translating it to French for my French things, and the reason I'm saying this is because you're saying, what, am I good enough? Blah, blah, blah. I would say one of the things about this thing, the horses won, this idea of the second spring, and what I'm about to say is like, just dare to ask and do.
Yeah, I think that's
the
conclusion I've come. I am good enough. That's the conclusion I've come to, that the menopause has taught me.
It's not just good enough.
It's not even. It's not even about that. It's about, if that is something I want to do and would give me pleasure,
do it.
Good enough for what? I mean, I'm not looking for an end result. I am just wanting to do that because it gives me joy, and it is aligned with me, my strengths, my values. I love it. I love it. And that's what the menopause, I think you mentioned too, all the things that have happened to you, the cancer, the suicide of your ex-partner. I mean, okay, you did have quite a lot of really heavy things in a very short period of time. But more and more and more, we're in that age bracket where that is life, isn't it? We are surrounded by these things that are a huge reminder of Jesus, life is
and
short.
mortality. Yeah, exactly.
If we want to do stuff,
yeah,
you know, what are we waiting for?
do it, which is the
Get it
whole
done.
thing. And then so I've been discussing doing the French version of resilience, and I know I've told you this, but there's one of my friends is a really famous French singer who's having a bit of a comeback at the moment. She's on the telly. She's been on all that Traitors.
Oh, she's doing French version of that?
Yeah, in the French version. She was in the French version of Strictly Come Dancing.
Oh, wow.
I know. She's like a big mega star, right? And I contacted her. I happen to have her WhatsApp, but she's also a yoga teacher. That's kind of how I know her, right? And I've done some radio interviews with her because she's on a radio channel called Air Zen, blah blah. Anyway, I messaged her a few weeks ago and said, a couple of weeks ago, I said, you wouldn't do a preface for my French version of Resilience, would you? I have sent her a copy because she speaks English, because she's Canadian, French Canadian. So she knew of the book anyway, and I thought, oh, it's a long shot, but just dare and ask, right? So I was like, I know you're really busy, because she's mega busy at the moment. And I was just like, any chance you could do it? She came straight back, which she never usually does. She came straight back and went, yes, I'm on it. I'll do it for Monday. Bless her. Bless her. Anyway, Monday came round and she didn't send it. So yesterday morning, I was a bit like, you managed to do it. I know you're busy. I'm not hassling. We've got until this date, basically, to at least have that in place and things. And she went, I'm doing it today. Don't worry. 5 o'clock, I've got a time slot and I'm doing it. And I think she must have been on a train or something, because she wrote it in WhatsApp, which I must copy and just in case and send them an email. She wrote it in WhatsApp and she sent it off to me. And it's lovely. It's a really beautiful little text, which is perfect for this poetry book. And then she left me this voice message going, yeah, you will check it, won't you, for spelling? Because I hate to think people think I'm really bad at writing.
But you know what?
Like
that is a beautiful example of it doesn't need to be perfect.
Oh yes,
one of the things that gets in the way all the time is we're thinking, and I guess it's probably linked to that. Oh, it's got to be good enough. It's got to be perfect. But that stops us from doing stuff so often. Whereas it doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to take action and do it.
Exactly. But a big thank you to Natasha St. Pierre, because that was fabulous of her to do that. But
I would just like to remind you that you are the Natasha St. Pierre to others, because you've done a forward for other people's books.
I have actually. I've done 2 in my time.
Yes, you have. And
I've done 2 in my time actually. I did one for a yoga for the tummy in French, it was, and then I did the French version of Elena Brower's.
Yeah,
it's Practice You and Explore-toi.
Well, so I do think it's wonderful that she has done that for your book. I don't think there should be the element of surprise, because it's like, you deserve that. It's a lovely book.
Well, thank you. And I tell you what touched me as well this week. So I try and be, in everything that I do, I try and be as genuine as I possibly can be, and as authentic and as caring as I possibly can be. And it's not always easy. You know, life is busy and I'm trying to slot things in and blah, blah, blah. And I also teach face yoga. So I'm a senior face yoga teacher. And I do these one-to-one, which is very intimate when it's one-to-one. I do these one-to-one online teacher trainings for face yoga. And I received the most beautiful email yesterday, which I will actually use as a witness thing.
Yeah, you should.
Témoignage thing. And it
testimonial.
Testimonial, not witness. Testimonial, I get your English right. I will use it because it was so nice of her to write it, and it was so genuine. And the brilliant thing about the training that I did with her was the day she did her practical exam, she came on and she said, had to do it in the afternoon because this morning I had my 6-month scan after having a big cancer scenario, big cancer, that she finally did an alternative treatment for, an experimental treatment for, immunotherapy thing. And there was some side effects and everything, but she just had her all clear for the 6 months. And she came in and she was like, I have to tell you this, Charlotte, before we start, because I'm all teary. I'm all clear. And I'm like, oh, what a day, what a day. And I even told the people in England about when a certificate thing went through. I was like, that's so cool. What an amazing journey that I feel I've shared a bit with her.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It was so intimate.
The facial yoga, the face yoga is lovely.
Oh,
maybe we could do that on here one. one day.
You can do
A
it
little
quite
bit.
easily, actually. In audio, it works as well. So maybe we could do
We
that.
could do a little bit just because, like, you do a lot of stuff. You teach, you're qualified to teach in the meditation and the face yoga, so many things that, like, I do to not necessarily face yoga, but the other stuff to help me with manage my menopause. And I think, God, it would help.
Actually, maybe we should do that on one of the podcasts, because and I'm going to add this, and maybe we'll close on this and we'll leave that as a bit of a, let's do that soon. But face yoga, why did I get into face yoga? It was really to do with the menopause, actually. So it's a really appropriate thing to bring up, because the menopause is one of those times, isn't it, when you start to lose control over stuff. You know, your face starts to sag, and the sad thing is,
the tummy starts to grow.
When you then try and lose weight, it goes off your face.
I know, and the belly gets bigger,
and on the neck. At the moment, I'm a bit too skinny because I keep forgetting to eat. But it's just because
I think mine has gone like that. Like my breasts and everything have gone into my tummy. It's kind of like lovely. I used to have little perky boobs, and now they've gone like.
I never had boobs, really, so it doesn't make a huge amount of difference to me.
They weren't massive, but it definitely dropped into my belly.
Into your belly.
Lovely.
But I started face yoga because at the same time as I was really in the heart of all the menopause and really kicking it off, I got the diagnosis of the skin cancer, and I felt like I was losing control over my skin and my body.
I get it. It's
the
lack of collagen.
Just everything was all going. You're like, great, now I can't even go in the sun to give myself a little bit of a shine and a boost. You know? So I was like, right, I'm losing that. I'm going to have to modify everything I do. I'm losing control over my bodily functions. I'm losing control over everything. So it was a way of releasing some of the tension, of regaining control is not the word, connection and contact.
The ritual helps, doesn't it?
It's
the nice,
yeah.
I think also things like that. I'm loving. I've got this lovely doggy here, but
don't let it go.
I'm loving even just. I got sent these lovely face products other week.
Yes.
By a dear friend. They're delicious, is how I would describe them.
Oh, I love that word. My girls always take the mickey out.
Oh, so nice. But it's whether they actually change. You know, whether they get rid of any of my wrinkles or not, is almost irrelevant. It's almost irrelevant. It's the act of that little moment of self-care.
Exactly.
You're giving yourself that message of, by me doing this, massaging this into my skin. It's again, it comes back to the whole L'Oreal commercial, but I'm worth it. I'm giving
this
myself
is the thing.
this.
And it can be really, really simple. We'll do it. We will do it.
And I think we should. It's just, be a nice
do it next week.
Self-care.
It won't be the whole thing, but I'll talk a bit more maybe about what face yoga
that's what all of this is about, isn't it? Like, be it the horse, be it me taking time for writing, me taking time to go out for a run, a little bit of facial, got dog hair everywhere.
My house is a tip as well, so we're going to hoover all that.
Dogs have it sorted, like, isn't it? It's like, just give me tickles, give me attention,
give me love.
That's what we're doing to ourselves, really.
Well, that's the thing, is often I do even start with like little droplets of rain. You're tapping your face and things like that. But what I wanted to say is the really cool thing vis-a-vis menopause and face yoga is it can balance hormonally the things that are going on. So there are pressure points on your face.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know more about.
That really help balance your hormonal system, so the endocrine system. It affects your parasympathetic nervous system, which will naturally mean that you digest better, you sleep better, all of those things. That's really important.
Yes.
It lymphatically drains the toxins out of your face. So we move our bodies all the time, right? And so we're draining things. The lymphatic system gets drained. You're walking, you're moving, dancing's great, jumping up and down the spot is great. But your face doesn't really get that workout and that movement. And the thing about the lymphatic system is it needs movement to work. So it doesn't just happen. You have to move it.
Okay.
So your face is quite static if you think about it. This is static on the forehead. Your cheeks are quite static. Everything's kind of static, really. It's just your mouth that moves, really. You're moving your neck, isn't your face, right?
Sure.
So doing these simple gestures, and when you bring everything down to, I'm tapping my face, by the way, sorry, podcast. tapping the face, and then when you tap in the clavicle area here,
Mhm.
you're helping the toxins drain down into your intestines
Oh.
and your kidneys and etc., and then you're eliminating it. So it's a way of
Getting it out.
detoxing whatever is in your skin, and that could be pollution, it could be stress.
Oh, wow.
And it helps the natural shine of your skin.
But your
come out.
skin has become more shiny, more
I think
radiant
so.
since you've been doing
I mean,
it,
I've got
for
too much
sure.
makeup on today, so
For
if
sure.
you're on the thing, I couldn't see very well, but I put my makeup on. But what it does, okay, yeah, it does, smooth some of the wrinkles and
it's
things.
definitely
It rehydrates the skin. It helps up with natural collagen and elastin from the gestures that you're doing. So it's automatically affecting the 3 layers of your skin. So it's like doing a Botox workout naturally, and it's also got this lymphatic drainage, and it's also got that hormonal effect.
Well, I think we should do, maybe next week. Let's do one on that.
We'll do that next
and
week.
then for this week, to close up, we just want to get everybody think back, to when you were little.
What is one thing in your childhood that got you fired up? That you're not doing now,
and you were
that
still
like.
If you don't have the time. But
what would the 6 or the 8-year-old self, depending on if you remember very well 6 or 8, but what would that person, that version of you, say to you now?
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's a good writing prompt, isn't
it? Yeah, I've done a lovely visualization around that.
Cool.
But there's the question.
There's the question. We'll leave it at that then, shall we? At least that Rocker didn't fart this week.
He's been very good.
He's not huffed and puffed or farted.
He's
That was Menopause. Thank you, Jill.
over and out.
See you next week.